Hi everybody, my name is Sam Quintanilla, and today I'm going to be talking about my senior studio project. It was a long process. It was 8 months and 97, 8.5 by 11 pages of sketching. So let's start with the grind. The average basketball player runs between 2 and 3 miles each game. Multiply that by an NBA 82 game regular season, and that's over 240 miles. And what's crazy about that is that doesn't include practice, that doesn't include preseason, postseason, all the training that these guys do. So 240 miles is really the minimum. And much like a vehicle, the human body accumulates mileage and eventually develops signs of wear and tear. So specifically within basketball, I wanted to talk about the forwards, the power forward and small forward, because these guys are some of the most versatile players on the court. They can shoot, defend, and battle down low with finesse or force. So with performance footwear, I really wanted to focus on support and protection. These guys generate a lot of force when they're on the court. So with force comes impact, and that can create problems. And so due to the nature of the game, athletes make agile and explosive movements at the drop of a dime. This becomes a problem when dynamic movements shift stress and strain to vulnerable areas of the body. Like heel striking, for example, when you're running and your heel hits the ground first, what that does is it sends all that force into the ankle into the knee, and then the knee into the hip. And so mitigating some of those effects from all that force was really the focus here. And the brief, develop a footwear solution that reduces the wear and tear of a basketball season. My main inspiration all came from this jacket. It's from a designer by Bohr. And what I love about this guy is he's a master of textiles. He really pushes what's possible and is really innovative about it. When I was looking at the manufacturing process, it reminded me of how spiders spin their web. So looking at some of the key needs again, I wanted it to have a lot of toe flex so that these guys could move freely on the court. But in addition to moving freely, I wanted them to feel supported rather than the shoe slipping out from underneath them. And then also the heel strike cushioning, like I had mentioned. Another thing that I wanted to make sure I incorporated was herringbone on the sole because it's proven quality traction and it handles multi-directional movements flawlessly. And so with the idea of a knit upper in mind, I wanted to include some additional supports. And fun fact, when I was doing some research on spiders and how they build their web, they start with a non-sticky silk to kind of lay out their framework. And then they go back and fill it in with the sticky thread. And so that's how the spiders are able to move freely around their web without getting caught in it. So here are some of my first forms. Started looking at the sole, cord management, how I was going to contain or organize these cables or cords or bungees. And I wanted it to have a sock fit and then a knit layer on top of that. And so I explored some of the cuff options. But then with these layers, I really wanted to make sure that it was ventilated because sometimes athletes will wear multiple pairs of socks or they'll have their ankles taped. So preventing overheating and making sure it was ventilated was really key too. Here's some refined forms. I started to look at how I could integrate the support cables into the knit itself. And then I also took a look at the cushioning units and what those were going to look like. Looking more at the sole, I wanted to add even more cushioning other than just the midsole. So what I looked into was vinyl nitrile closed cell foam. And so what that kind of is like wrestling mats, if you're familiar with that. I figure if it's good enough for people to be picked up and slammed on top of, then it should feel pretty good underfoot when you're on the court. In addition to that, I wanted to use a carbon fiber plate in the sole. That's not new for footwear, but what that does is it supports it, it makes it strong, but then also it provides kind of like a spring effect when you're running. So I thought that that would be a great addition to the shoe. From there, I started to develop my logo, sticking with the spider theme. But where I got the name Aracknit from, it goes back to Greek mythology. This woman was a very skilled weaver, and she was a little overconfident and challenged the goddess Athena to a competition. She beat the goddess, and as a result, she was turned into a spider. That's where you get arachnid, the class of animal that spiders belong to. Combine that all together with knit, and then that's how I got arachnit. Here's some of my final forms. So we're talking about the cords and the lacing. So that's all contained in the stabilizer right on the top of the foot. And so when you pull up on the loop, that adjusts some of the tightness and where the cords land on your foot as well. And with the knit upper, I included this pattern, and the pattern is actually from the body of a garden spider. And so some of the areas on the upper are strategically ventilated to keep the foot cool. And then on the strap, the end there, some of that detail, so that's a layout of a specific type of spider and how their eyes look. So I thought that that was a cool detail. With the inner sock, it was important to have different zones in it so that it was versatile. So around the toe is padded so that you don't feel crammed, your foot doesn't feel stuffed in there. And then also protecting the ankle really comes from keeping the heel on top of the sole. So I wanted the heel to be extra reinforced to give the athlete that support. And then here's my final form. You can see the cross section there on that chunky part of the heel, really trying to put a lot of supportive and springy foam type materials underneath it. And then here is my final slide. And so ultimately the itsy bitsy spider is not so itsy bitsy. And that is all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. It was a lot of hard work, but I'm happy with how it turned out. And once again, thank you for watching.